kind of zoomed in to specific smaller scale problems like this very interesting talk that we just heard about measuring toxicity in nature. I'm trying to zoom out again to a bit more the context of this morning's presentations onto a meta perspective. I've done my PhD on this work, so I'm attempting the impossible here, which is to summarize an 820-page PhD in 20 minutes. Really what I'm trying to do is to advertise the paper, so I get you to read the paper. Briefly, I've come from biology, gone via holistic science to design faculty, so I have some reason to talk about transdisciplinarity. What we were talking about this morning, in my view, is a design question. How do we recreate the human presence on the Earth in a way that the future generations can still enjoy a beautiful planet and a beautiful country like Patagonia? So, an appropriate response to this kind of really complex design question needs to bring the different disciplines together, the chemists, the engineers, the architects, everybody. And we need to value all the different insights, but at the same time not get confused in kind of trench wars between the different disciplines. And to my mind, design is not really a discipline in itself. It's actually the discipline that can facilitate this transdisciplinary integration and facilitation. And what I would suggest is that design for human ecosystems and planetary health offers a transdisciplinary approach to sustainability. And I will summarize this using 4 questions. The 4 questions I'm going to talk about today is: what is health? What is sustainability, the ability to sustain? What is design? And how do we design for sustainability? A little bit of context. Oh, there's something missing up there in the corner. I don't know if you're aware of this book. James Lovelock recently published an article in The Independent where he kind of pessimistically said it's too late. He, according to his calculations, we're committed to an 8 degree centigrade temperature rise in this century. And he has mentioned in this book that he believes that by the end of the 21st century, there might only be 500 million people on the planet. Pause a little bit to think what that means. So what is health? According to the World Health Organization, when it was founded, health was defined as a state of physical and mental and social well-being, and not just an absence of disease. Later, in the so-called Ottawa Charter, the World Health Organization spoke about conditions for health. And to name just a few of them: peace, shelter, education, food, income, healthy ecosystems, sustainable resources, social justice, and equity. But if you think about these, those are also the prerequisites for a sustainable human civilization. Also, by talking about the conditions for health, we're moving from a pathogenic, focused on disease, to a salutogenic approach to health, where we're looking at the conditions for health. And then in 1992, the World Health Organization Commission on Health and the Environment published the Our Planet, Our Health report, where it was clearly stated that we cannot have healthy individuals and healthy societies without healthy ecosystems. So there's a link between ecosystems health and human health, a very strong one. And as a chemist, your work will hopefully help to add to our understanding of this. Then also, complexity theory is increasingly emerging as a new metaphor in science that is more holistic and teaches us important lessons of fundamental interconnectedness, interdependence, and also in such a fundamentally interconnected system where everything interacts with everything else, we have to finally admit that the control and prediction agenda of reductionist science is only realizable at a very limited scale, and that basically the systems we live in and participate in are fundamentally unpredictable and uncontrollable, which humbles us as human beings. Then, ecosystems health has been described in many different ways. Among them, homeostasis, diversity, complexity within ecosystems, dynamic stability, resilience, vigor. All these are terms that, according to Robert Costanza, founder of ecological economics, he reviewed all of them and said, basically, these are all pieces of the puzzle. We should look at all of them and not just one of them. Then, this idea of scale linking. Basically, in a healthy body, there are healthy cells and healthy organs. Healthy bodies make up healthy families and healthy communities. Healthy communities make up healthy societies within healthy ecosystems. So health is somehow scale linked. Arthur Koestler initially came up with this term holon and this idea of holarchy, which basically is this, the whole, every whole is also a part of a bigger system and made up of smaller systems. Again, this is very conceptual at this point, but in the paper and in my PhD is going to be published by MIT Press in an abridged version, probably in 2008. So if you're interested, then good. Moving on. What is sustainability? I don't know if everybody is aware that sustainability, the term initially was coined by Lester Brown, the founder of the World Watch Institute and the Earth Policy Institute. The most common definition, I think we heard this morning that there are 106, I haven't got all of those, but the most common definition is the Brundtland Commission's definition, which defines sustainable development as the ability of the present generation to meet their needs without jeopardizing the ability of future generations to meet theirs. This is important because it brings in that long-term, temporarily scale-linking approach. We have to think about future generations, but it's kind of very much moral-based. So morally based. So there's a need to create a more operational definition of how actually to generate a sustainable solutions. I'm defining sustainability as appropriate participation in ecological and social processes, which again is quite general, but it leads me closer to that this appropriate participation has to be a design participation. We have to think about how we interfere with social and ecological systems. Sustainability and systemic health. One thing that is also important when thinking about sustainability is not to confuse it as some sort of state in the future that we will ever reach. Because we are participating in a fundamentally interconnected complex system, this system, nature, is constantly changing. So we have to constantly run to stand still to catch up. So sustainability is a process of learning that is community-based and focused on the conditions in specific bioregions or ecosystems. And the best strategy to create sustainability is to maintain the holarchy or the health scale-linking properties throughout the entire system, from local to regional to global. I would like to read a brief quote by David Bronkhorst, who's working at the UNESCO Institute for Bioregional Resource Management, and he says, sustainability implies not challenging ecological thresholds on temporal and spatial scales that will negatively affect the resilience or adaptive capacity of social and ecological systems. And then he goes on to say that loss of resilience undermines the ecosystem's capacity to continue to deliver life support and other ecological services to humanity under a wide range of environmental conditions. So, what is design? The design that underlies our current civilization is like that coal tanker, heading full steam at a storm. And the storm is peak oil and climate change. So we really need to, at the core of our society, change the design methods that have informed our civilization so far. Design, to a lot of people, might mean something about beautification of objects, but it's much more than that. Design is at the nexus of theory and practice. it's turning theory from lots of different disciplines into something real. Design is at the nexus between diverse disciplines, between the material and the immaterial. I'll get to that in a second. It's at the nexus between values and actions, again. And also, it's rather science explains how the world is based on how it has been. Design looks into the future and considers how the world ought to be. And I define design very broadly as design is intentionality expressed through interactions and relationships. And then materially, this is expressed through objects, through the resource flows that we can observe, through lifestyles, but immaterially, we are designating meaning to the world. So at the core of all scientific enterprise, there's already a bit of design, the design of what you choose to focus on and what you choose to study. So if we consciously shape and change our intentions, then we are acting at the way upstream level of design. That's what I call meta-design. We are defining the needs, redefining needs and values systems. And so following design upstream, design and meta-design, it's thinking about the epistemological and ontological foundations of our science and our worldview. Re-examining our basic assumptions between what is the self and what is the world. Who are we as humans? Are humans part of nature or apart from nature? It's looking at our worldviews and how they affect our intentions, our aspirations, and what are real and perceived needs. And therefore shapes our lifestyles and our visions of our future. And in my paper, at the beginning of the paper, I'm not going to go into this in much detail, I actually look at some of the approaches where people like David Bohm, the physicist, or the psychologist Claire Graves with his model of biopsychosocial systems, or Don Beck with spiral dynamics, the American philosopher Ken Wilber with integral theory, or Esbjørn Hagens with integral ecology, are trying to look at ways to bring people from a wide range of disciplines, from a wide range of worldviews and value systems around the same table, and not to say one is right or one is wrong, but to try to find a new way forward where we acknowledge that different worldviews are valid, and in a system that gains strength and resilience from diversity, we can't say one person is right and the other person is wrong. So it's about embracing the paradox that you can be right within a limited perspective, but in a wider perspective, that might actually be wrong, and so on. And also working with these multiple perspectives. What is design for sustainability? Bringing it together. I work with a rough map called scale linking design, based on scales of design. And I basically start at the scale of products, architecture, construction ecology, community design, industrial ecology, urban design, bioregional planning, and international cooperation. And in my thesis, I actually looked at best practice examples in all these scales. Don't have time to get into this. And then I also looked at scale linking issues of design. Among them are economics, energy, food production, transport, education, water issues, environmental restoration, settlement patterns, and resource use. So I suggest that sustainable design has to be scale linking design, that when you are an architect and you consider your building, you have to look at the products you use in the building of your building, but you also have to look at the construction ecology of how you produce your building, and the wider holes within holes, the holarchy which in your building is set. You have to look at the community, the industrial ecology, and so on. The same applies for any of these scales. Always ask questions down and up the scale when you think about designing a new solution. Salutogenic design. health generating design, which suggests that the system should be connected to itself. You should close feedback loops. So rather than taking 120 years to realize what burning fossil fuels does to the atmosphere, through sensors and everything, you can create quicker feedback loops. So you realize the effects of your actions more quickly. So overall, you try to increase the conditions for systemic health. Synergistic design means creating, rather than win-lose situations, you create win-win-win situations where, in terms of games theory, you're talking about non-zero-sum games. Most modern economics, our entire world economic system is built up on zero-sum games. There are winners and there are losers. So maybe we have to rethink something there. Transdisciplinary collaboration, looking at the fertile ground between the disciplines, and actually, rather than most transdisciplinary conferences, where it's like a talking shop, everybody gets up, does their business, sits down, and nothing happens. The next step is to actually talk and see how to integrate this. So, integration and synthesis. We've got so much specialized knowledge that maybe we should, which we amassed over the last 150, 200 years of reductionist science. Maybe we should spend the next 100 years mainly focusing on what happens when we bring all this knowledge together. Again, honoring multiple perspectives, and the triple bottom line of ecological, social, and economics is part of this. Then symbiotic design. We really need to look at the design lessons that nature can teach us. There are approaches in ecological design and biomimicry, bionics, where this is already being applied. We can learn a lot from the way that ecosystems are organized. Learning from nature, helping to create life support systems for the wider community of life, not just for human beings. And ultimately, when you look into the realm of meta-design, of this upstream end of design, sustainable design has also got to be sacred design. And I think our Mapuche friend from this morning would agree with me on that one. His language, I love that bit where he said that his language means the language of the earth, communicating with the wider community of nature. This is not airy-fairy hippie stuff. This is wisdom of thousands and thousands of years of human civilization. There's a certain arrogance of modern human beings to think that we are separate or masters of nature. So, rethinking these things and becoming aware of our participatory, of our participation in this wider system is really important, and that will then lead us to redefine ideas of ethics and aesthetics, which again, there's no time to do this right now. So, in summary, health, complexity, ecology, and design can help to provide a conceptual framework to integrate different disciplines. Appropriate participation in ecological processes and the maintenance of systemic health are prerequisites for sustainability. And Design for Human and Planetary Health offers a transdisciplinary approach. Oops, I'm on the wrong page here. So, yeah, basically, design for sustainability should be the 5S: scale linking, salutogenic, synergistic, symbiotic, and sacred design. So, if that's tickled your fancy, please read the paper and also send me an email for any comments if you have more deeper comments, and I can also let you know what's happening with the publication of my PhD with MIT Press. So that's me. I rushed through that.
Thank you. We have some time for questions.
Thanks for your presentation, Dan. I thought it was an excellent overview. I think what you're presenting in terms of interdisciplinarity is a huge challenge for our time, and very much needed for sustainability. But the problems that I see associated with it, because we're doing it, or trying to do it, at the University of Calgary, it goes against many of the ways in which universities have been set up, and it goes against the way universities operate, and against the ways that merit is acknowledged in universities, and promotion and all the rest of it. I work in a interdisciplinary faculty, which is very much modelled along the scales that you have given there, starting at the product level through architecture, urban design and planning, right through to landscape ecology and design. And the faculty was founded in the early 1970s on the basis of a very loose interdisciplinary model. And what we've found over the years, as the faculty has progressed, is an increasing tendency towards more discipline-specific programming within the faculty, partly coming from pressure from the professions to incorporate a lot more very specific courses into the programs, particularly for architecture, for accreditation purposes, and an increasing tendency towards the professionalization of individual design disciplines. From my point of view, what you're saying is essential, but the term professionalization and professional faculties, I think, is problematic. And maybe in order to do what you're saying, we need to become, for a while at least, amateurs and dilettantes in order to be more experimental and more open to input from other disciplines. So I think what you're saying is right on target, but there are some very, very big hurdles, particularly in the ways our current universities are organized.
I absolutely agree. I think one of the first places to start is to redesign the university system, which is difficult.
Yeah.
But we live in a society where the knowledge of the specialist is valued far beyond the knowledge of the generalist. And if we really try to create transdisciplinary integration, we need to become generalists, and that means opening yourself up, becoming vulnerable to the criticism from somebody who obviously knows more in their little shoehorn discipline. Like, I know hardly anything about chemistry, so you could show me up on chemistry anywhere of the week. Yeah? But it's trying to know about a broad range of disciplines.
Was Kepler a reductionist?
Pardon?
Was Johannes Kepler or, say, Leibniz a reductionist, according to your terminology?
I, at this point, don't know enough about Leibniz's work.
Was Darwin a reductionist?
Was Darwin? Probably. But
was Einstein a reductionist?
No, not towards the end of his life.
Was Louis Pasteur a reductionist?
Also not towards the end of his life. Most people come around.
What about the Llao Llao?
Pardon?
What about the Llao Llao, or say the Norman Delbrot, the guy who did the fractals?
Mandelbrot was certainly not a reductionist.
Well, nevertheless,
he's still working on it.
Yeah, nevertheless, all of these guys, they basically took something that was initially a fractal base of knowledge and reduced it to a limited number of principles or equations. I think that the term reductionist and its ugly relative, the reductionist science, is silly, it's anti-multidisciplinary because it draws totally artificial wedges within the scientific communities, as your answers have just demonstrated. I have spoken.
Okay. May I answer, or you're not interested? So I agree with you on the fact that we shouldn't create some new dichotomy between reductionism and holism. All the wise people you just mentioned are people that have worked so hard in their disciplines to finally pop out, like quantum theory is the ultimate reductionist discipline, but what has it given us? A holistic perspective of the universe, a fundamental interconnectedness. Yeah? So if you go deep enough into the fractal, the Mandelbrot appears again. Yeah? So I don't think we disagree, but I encourage you to open your own perspective to allow a wider picture.
Thank you very much. I think we're going to have to.
Okay.
Is this a question or a statement?
No, okay. So once we've reformed the universities and everything about ourselves, how do we get the outside world from here to something sustainable there? Can you see a way?
To my mind, through touchstone examples. at each of these scales. That's one of the things that I deal with in my PhD, of actually giving examples how at the scale of product design or architecture or bioregional planning, good work is already being done. I'm currently in discussion with a group of people to try to open a transdisciplinary journal called Ecological Design, which will not be a fully scientific journal, but also a magazine, trying to promote good examples for sustainable solutions to a wider audience, to anybody who's interested. The challenge really is to get the idea out there through films like An Inconvenient Truth, or even all sorts of other media that the wider public can be inspired by and see visions of how human civilization in the future is possible without destroying the planet.